The story of Savitri. One of the stories in Mahabharata that became very famous is the story of Savitri. She won back her husband's life with her fearlessness, intelligence, and clever speech. This story occurs in the Pativrata Mahatmya of the Aranyaka Parva. Yudhishthir asks Markandeya Rishi, "Have you seen a woman as pious and dedicated to her husband as Draupadi?" In reply, Rishi Markandeya told him the story of Savitri. Long time ago lived a king, Ashwapati, in Madhya Pradesh. He was very religious, generous, truthful, broad minded, alert about his subjects, forgiving, and very popular amongst his subjects. He had all types of happiness except having a child. He performed severe penance for getting a child. He would sacrificially recite the Gayatri Mantra 1 lakh times every day. He did this for 18 years. Finally, he was blessed by Goddess Savitri, who emerged from the fire and said, "O king, I am pleased with your devotion. You can ask for any boon." King Ashwapati was thrilled and said, "I have performed this penance with the desire of getting a child. Please bless me with a son who will carry forward my lineage, because Dharma says that giving birth to a son is the Parama Dharma, the biggest Dharma." Goddess Savitri replied, "I knew your desire, and so had presented it in front of Lord Brahma. With his grace, you will soon be blessed with a virtuous daughter. However, don't ask me anything more about this." Ashwapati accepted the boon and promised to obey her orders. Goddess Savitri disappeared. King Ashwapati returned to his town and started looking after his subjects judiciously like before. Princess of Malavdesh was his wife. With the grace of Goddess Savitri, she got pregnant and she delivered a beautiful daughter. King Ashwapati was very happy. Goddess Savitri had blessed him after a penance of reciting the Gayatri Mantra, and so he named his glorious daughter Savitri. Savitri grew day by day and bloomed into a beautiful girl. Her beauty paralleled that of Goddess Lakshmi. Her eyes were like lotus, her skin glowed like gold. No king or prince could stand before her radiance, and so nobody could marry her. King Ashwapati felt dejected because although his daughter was extremely virtuous and beautiful, no king proposed to marry her. He said to Savitri, "You are young and fit to be married now, but there is no proposal for you from anywhere. So you yourself look for a perfect husband for yourself who will match your level. Introduce me to whoever you feel is fit to be your husband, and I will consider him and marry you to him." Saying so, he ordered his ministers to set a chariot for Savitri. Princess Savitri bowed before her father, and according to his direction, she set off to travel to different places. Thereafter, Narad Muni had once visited King Ashwapati. Incidentally, Savitri returned from her journey then. She bowed before Narad Muni and her father. Narad inquired where she had gone, and Ashwapati narrated the entire story of her journey and also asked her whom she had chosen for marriage. Savitri started telling her story. She said, "Kshatriya king Dumat Sen was ruling Shalvadesh. When he lost his vision, his son was very young. His enemies exploited this opportunity and conquered his kingdom. The king, along with his wife and young son, took shelter in a forest. He took several vows and performed penance. I have chosen the son of such virtuous king Satyavan as my husband. He is perfectly eligible to marry me." On hearing this, Narad Muni said, "Savitri has invited misery by deciding to marry Satyavan. This boy's parents always speak the truth and so they named him Satyavan. Chitrashva is his other name. This prince is as lustrous as the sun, as clever as Brihaspati, as valorous and forgiving as Indra, as generous as King Rantidev, as devoted as King Shibi, and as pleasant as the moon. He is as good looking as the Ashwini Kumars. He is gentle, truthful, and friendly. He is a bundle of virtues, but has one great vice which cannot be removed by any effort. That vice is that he is short lived. He will die exactly 1 year from today. On hearing this, the king asked Savitri to go on a travel and look for somebody else as her husband. Savitri heard what her father had to say and then said with determination, Satyavan may be long lived or short lived, virtuous or vicious. I have mentally accepted him as my husband. I cannot marry any other man now. This is my firm determination. Seeing his daughter's unshakable resolve, her father gave permission. Narad Muni too blessed well being to Savitri and good luck to her wedding and went back to heaven. According to Narad Muni's directions, King Ashwapati went to the forest along with all the marriage preparations, scholars, and priests. There he worshipped Dumatsen and introduced himself. He also told the objective of his visit and requested him to accept his beautiful and virtuous daughter as his daughter in law. On hearing this request, King Dumatsen said, I have lost my kingdom and I am living like a hermit in the forest. How can Savitri bear the troubles of such life? Ashwapati responded, I and my daughter know that happiness and grief are momentary. I have thought over this completely and I request you to please accept my daughter Savitri as a bride for your son Satyavan and as your daughter in law. On hearing this, Dumatsen invited the Brahmins in the hermitage and married Satyavan to Savitri. King Ashwapati returned home with content. Satyavan and Savitri were perfect for each other and so they were very happy. Once her father left, Savitri removed all her ornaments and wore simple clothes that would suit the hermitage. Very soon, Savitri won over everyone with her humility, restraint, service, quietness, and sweet speech. However, gradually Savitri began to get worried. She recollected the prophecy told by Narad Muni. The day of Satyavan's death was fast approaching. 4 days before the fateful day, Savitri took up a vow for 3 nights. For 3 days she stood upright continuously and consumed no food. Her parents in law tried to stop her from taking up such severe penance, but when they saw that she was determined, they blessed her and wished her success. Savitri was busy for the whole night fulfilling her vow. As day broke, she realized that the fateful day Narad Muni had mentioned had dawned. She got up on Brahma Muhurta and offered oblation to the fire. She bowed before all elders. All the Brahmins, hermits, and her in laws blessed her with a long married life. Her father in law saw that Savitri was lost in her thoughts and so reminded her of ritually closing her vow. She said her wish would get fulfilled at the end of the day, and she had planned to consume food only thereafter. At that very moment, Satyavan set off with the axe to the forest to get wood and fruits. Savitri said to him, Please don't go alone, I will accompany you. Satyavan said, Savitri, you have never gone to the forest. Besides, you are weak due to your severe vow. How will you be able to walk? Savitri replied that she was very enthusiastic about going with him and she was not tired at all. Seeing her keen wish, he asked her to take permission from her in laws. Savitri had never asked for anything till then, and so they accepted her wish of going to the forest. She bowed before them and set off to the forest with Satyavan. On their way to the forest, Satyavan was showing her trees, holy rivers, flocks of peacocks. Savitri, with a smiling face, was bearing great torment within her. She was pretending to enjoy the scenic beauty of the forest, but she was actually closely observing her husband's movements. Narad's words kept haunting her every moment. Every moment felt like death to her. Satyavan gathered fruits and he began to cut wood. While cutting wood, he started sweating by the effort. His head started aching, his body felt pain, and his heart burned. Satyavan said to Savitri, "My dear, I am feeling very restless. I feel like lying down. I don't have the strength to stand." On hearing this, she hurried to him and sat with his head in her lap. Thinking of Narada's words, she began to calculate the exact time. Just then, a divine person appeared there. He was wearing yellow clothes. He had a crown on his head. He looked as lustrous as the sun. His body was dark and his eyes were red. He held traps in his hands. He looked ferocious. He was standing close by and was looking at Satyavan with a fixed gaze. Immediately, Savitri set her husband's head on the ground and stood up and implored in gentle words, "I can see that you are some god. Can you introduce yourself? Why are you here?" This extra manly person was god Yama. He said, "Savitri, you are a dutiful wife, a severe performer of penance, and so I can talk to you. I am Yama. Your husband's life is over, and so I have come to tie him and take him away." Savitri said, "I had heard that your messengers come to take away human beings. How come you yourself have come today?" Yama said, "Satyavan is a noble soul. He is a sea of virtues. I didn't feel it appropriate to send my messengers to fetch him, and so I came myself." Saying this, Yama extracted Satyavan's pran from his body, a thumb like tied up helpless soul. The moment his soul was out, Satyavan's breathing stopped, his body darkened and went lifeless. Yama tied up the soul and set off in southern direction. Grief struck, Savitri set off behind him. When Yama saw her following, he said, "Savitri, go back. Complete the posthumous rituals of your husband. Don't follow him." Savitri replied, "It is appropriate for me to go wherever my husband is being taken. This is the age old dharma. My movement will not stop due to the power of my penance, my love for my husband, and your grace. Great people say that the bond of friendship becomes strong if people walk together for 7 steps. According to this rule, I want to say something to you. Only those people who have won over their sensory organs and their minds can perform severe penance, have judiciousness of good and bad, and can acquire dharma. Scholars and noblemen consider dharma to be the topmost. They give priority only to dharma. They get their desires fulfilled only by observing dharma." Yama said, "Savitri, I am satisfied with your soft voice, your speech, your intelligent talk. You can ask for any boon except Satyavan's life." On hearing this, Savitri said, "O God Yama, my father in law had to lose his kingdom due to blindness. I want you to restore his vision. May he become as powerful and radiant as the sun." Yama immediately granted her the wish. He said to her that she looked tired and so she should go back. He didn't want to see her in more hardships. Savitri replied, "How can I face hardships when my husband is with me? Being in my husband's proximity is my fate. Wherever you take him, I am bound to follow. Please listen to me. Company of good men always fulfills your desires. Such accompaniment is never wasted. and so it is proper for me to accompany a great person like you. Yama was again pleased with her words, and he said, Savitri, your words are truly beneficial to all and acceptable to scholars. I like your speech, and so I grant you another boon except the life of Satyavan. Savitri asked for the second boon that King Dyumat Sen gets back his kingdom and that he should always observe his dharma. Yama granted this wish too and asked Savitri to return home. On listening to this, Savitri said again, O God, you are famous because you tie the subjects with rules and control the entire population. That is why you are called Yama. But please listen to what I want to say. Being compassionate and generous is the age old dharma of good men. People on earth are short lived and powerless. Good men forgive even their enemies. There is no good man that can match your virtue. These words of Savitri made Yama extremely pleased, and he said, As water quenches the thirst of the thirsty, your words have made me content. You can ask for another boon except the life of Satyavan. Savitri said, My father Ashwapati doesn't have a son. I wish that he gets 100 sons and his progeny may continue through them. This is my third wish. Yama immediately agreed and said, O princess, I have fulfilled this wish too. You have come a long way. Now you should go back. Savitri cleverly said, O Lord, my husband is with me, and so I don't care about distance. My mind has raced even further. I want to tell you something more. You are known as Vaivasvat because you are the valorous son of Vivaswan. You behave justly with your subjects, and so you are called Dharmaraj. Subjects trust a lawful nobleman like you more than they trust themselves. Yama said, O noble lady, I have never heard such words from anyone. Your words have made me very happy. You can ask for a fourth boon, anything except the life of Satyavan. Savitri said, I ask for 100 legitimate mighty sons for me and Satyavan. Yama granted this wish too and said, You will have 100 mighty and valorous sons who will please you. Now please go back. Don't come any further on this path. Savitri said again, Good men always observe dharma. Their company never goes in vain. There is no fear from such good men. Such noblemen are the firm supporters of one's past, present, and future, and company of such good men never gives grief. Inspired from good behavior of good men, other great men take up philanthropy too. Their behavior never invades other people's interests or dishonors other people. Their boons also never go waste. Such noblemen are the protectors of the whole world. These profound and sweet words of Savitri please Yama, and he praises Savitri, saying, I have started liking your deep thinking, sweet speech, words that give happiness to mind, and words which are in accordance to Dharma. You can ask for one more boon. Savitri said, You have granted me the boon of bearing sons, but that is not possible without my husband. So, by this boon, I request you to please return my husband's life. Without him, my life is like death. I don't want to go to heaven without him. I don't even want to live without him. You have granted me 100 sons, and you are taking away my husband? So I am asking for Satyavan's life so that your boon can be fulfilled and your words can become true. Listening to this clever argument of Savitri, Yama said, Tathastu, and liberated Satyavan's soul from his clutches. Happily he said to Savitri, O noble lady, I have freed your husband. He can go back with you now. Both of you will live a long life. You will bear 100 virtuous sons. Granting this boon, Yama returned to heaven. After Yama had left, Savitri returned to the place where Satyavan's body was lying. Satyavan got up, full of life. He was looking lovingly at Savitri as if he had returned from a long journey. He said, I was sleeping for a long time. Why didn't you wake me up? Savitri replied, You were sleeping for a long duration. Lord Yama had come to take you away, but he has gone back now. If you are feeling well, get up. It is already night. We will go back. Satyavan, who had regained consciousness, could remember everything. He remembered that he had seen a lustrous god while sleeping on Savitri's lap. He asked Savitri to explain what had happened. Savitri said thereupon, Get up now. We should hurry back home. I will tell you everything in detail tomorrow. Looking at the darkening shadows around, she added, It will be difficult to find our way in the dark. If you permit, let us stay here overnight and return tomorrow morning. However, Satyavan said, If we do not return, my parents will get so tense that they perhaps may also die due to that anxiety. If my parents don't live, I too won't be able to live. Savitri, who thought of the well being of her in laws and her husband, agreed immediately and both set off on return journey immediately. In the hermitage, King Dumat had acquired vision due to Lord Yama's boon. He could see everything clearly. Satyavan's parents were grief struck because their son hadn't returned. They kept on looking for him all over the place. Brahmin rishis around told them different incidents and tried to console and pacify them. Even then, they could not help being anxious. Both lamented, Where are you, my son? Where are you, my virtuous daughter in law? Suvarcha Rishi told them, Satyavan's wife Savitri is a penancing woman of great virtue. Due to her piousness, Satyavan is surely alive. Other rishis too confirmed that Satyavan is definitely alive because his wife is a true pativrata of good character. Satyavan himself is very virtuous and popular and loved by all. He is definitely alive. Thus, everyone tried to give courage to Dyumatsen. He stabilized himself with these supporting words. A little while later, Satyavan and Savitri returned to the hermitage. Seeing them back and seeing that Dyumatsen had got back his eyesight, everyone congratulated them and wished them good luck and happiness in future too. When Dumatsen asked the duo why they were so late, Savitri narrated the entire sequence of events. Gautam Rishi said, Savitri will be able to tell you how your father got back his vision. She has knowledge of the past and also of future. Savitri then told everything from the prophecy told by Narad Muni to her praising of Yama and getting 5 boons as blessing. She also told everyone what boons she had got. All is well that ends well. All the rishis praised Savitri and said, King Dyumatsen's dynasty was in danger, drowned in darkness, but a devoted, virtuous, and pious daughter in law like Savitri saved the dynasty. They praised her and lauded her. They were not tired of speaking good words about her, and the king was not bored of listening to those. Just then, subjects from Shalvadesh came there and said to King Dyumatsen, Our enemy has been killed by our ministers. His army has fled. We all have faith only in you, and so we have come to invite you back as our king. We have got vehicles to take you back. The army is at your service. Come back to the town. We have announced your victory there. All the subjects were amazed to see that the king had got back his vision. They bowed before him. The king took blessings from the old Brahmins in the hermitage and returned to his capital. He was coronated as the king again, and Satyavan was coronated as the prince. As per Yama's boon, Savitri bore 100 valiant sons. Savitri thus saved her parents, in laws, and husband and her entire family from great calamity.